Greetings and salutations. I am Crom, and this is Guild Wars 2 New Player 2017 Guide. With Guild Wars 2 going free to play, a large number of new players are joining the game, and I felt it was time to give some updated advice to those new to the Guild Wars 2 universe. This game has gone through some major changes over the years. The leveling system, trait system, which is used to customize your character, and even the world itself in places have been completely rebuilt to look nothing like the game did when it launched. To that end, I will answer a few of the questions new players have, starting with the obvious: what class or race should I pick? Now, unlike many games, Guild Wars 2 does not use the traditional holy trinity of tank, healer, DPS. The main reason for this is how combat, and more to the point, how aggro works in game. I won't get into too many details here, but I will say this. Every class in the game has many different builds, and all classes can self-heal. They can be tank-like, they can deal power DPS or condition damage, they can attack from range or up close in melee combat. Every class can also resurrect other players and even some NPCs without need of using a skill. Furthermore, no class is obsolete or excluded in any part of the game. All classes are used in PvP, World vs. World, PvE, Dungeons, and Raids. So how do you pick a class? To make things a bit easier for new players, I divided up the classes into two groups, simple and complex. Simple classes are your Guardian, which I have two of, your Warrior, I've got another one of those, Revenants, they're part of the Heart of Thorns expansion pack, Rangers, I've got a pair of those, and the Necromancer. Now, the simple classes are those that can jump into combat with very little planning ahead. You see a target, you attack the target. It doesn't mean they can't become complex classes through customization or in any way inferior to other classes. They just start the game being a bit easier for people to understand. Now, the complex classes, there you have your Engineer, your Mesmer, your Elementalist, and your Thief. Now, these classes require a bit more work to master. Even at the start of the game, you need to think a bit more before combat begins even with these classes, in part because they're a little squishier, they've got lower armor and less health, and in part because their skills either should be activated before combat or need to be combined in combat to create the best effect. So, looking at the Elementalist, they need to consider using a crowd control skill, which is a skill that prevents or decreases the movement of enemies before they drop their large AoE big damage attack in order to maximize how many people they get hit with it. The Engineer may deploy turrets, and they may then want to pull mobs into the range of those turrets. The Mesmer has skills called mantras that need to be charged before use. They also can deploy clones of themselves. And of course, the Thief might choose to stealth and attack from while invisible. Now, my advice for new players is to start off with a simple class. Learn a bit about how the game functions, how does combat work, how do the skills interact, what kind of overall player are you? Do you prefer to get up and close and melee? Do you like casting spells? Or is there a certain weapon that you just need to wield? Once you learn a bit about the game, then you can jump into the complex classes and see if they better suit you. In the end, I hope you at least try out every class because they're a lot of fun, and the unique customizations of each class has may surprise how they play. They're not what you expect. Now, picking a race. The races in this game are just a cosmetic feature. They have slightly different personal stories, and each race starts near their race's home city. However, the entire world is connected, so you can play as any race and fully interact with every other player in every other race throughout the entire game. So, after you've picked your character, how do you level it up? So, start off by exploring the map. Walk around and get a feel for how both the mobs and NPCs interact with you. In the starting maps, you may find that some mobs ignore you until you're up close, but in higher level maps, mobs start to aggro onto lower level characters from greater and greater distance. So if you're a low level character and you go into a very high level map, enemies are going to charge at you from across the entire map. This is kind of their own way of blocking you from getting too far too quickly. So take your time, level up. When you go to your map, you can actually zoom out and it'll give you an idea of the levels for that map. So this is a starting zone 1 to 15. You can see over here, this is 25, 25 to 35. Up here is 35 to 45, and it goes on throughout the entire game until you get, of course, to level 80 maps. Now, thanks to the scaling system in here, it doesn't matter what map you go to. You're never going to be overpowered on that map because the game will actually lower your level to match the map. So here I'm a level 80 character, but it's saying my effective level is 13. That means that I'm going to have to fight mobs just as hard on this map as I do on the last map. It'll be a bit easier for me because I have advanced armor and I have all of my skills unlocked compared to a new player starting out. But basically, it's still going to be fun. Now, as you move around the maps, you're going to want to unlock waypoints. Waypoints, right here's a Crichton waypoint. These are used for fast travel across the game world. It allows you to meet up with players on the other side of the map or on a different map entirely just by a couple clicks. You also gain a little bit of EXP, and it's where you're going to use to resurrect yourself if you die and nobody's around to res you. It happens. It shouldn't, but it happens. You're also going to go after points of interest. You see, points of interest are these little name placards throughout the game. You find them on your min-map. You can also locate them on the larger overworld map. And these little things are just a bit of lore. They tell you what the name of the location is. Sometimes they'll tell you, what's happened at that location in the past. Otherwise, they're not much point, but you want to get them all. You do not want to skip any of them. You'll also come across vistas. Vistas are areas that they're little interactable locations that allow you to get a panoramic view of the world around you. There's a vista right up there. And they grant a small amount of experience, but you can only activate each one once. Well, get the experience once. You can activate them as many times as you wish, but only when you're not in combat. And it's a beautiful look at the area. Definitely want to get these. Do not skip any of these. They're required for map completion. The waypoints, the points of interest, and the vistas are required for map completion. Map completion is a great way to level up your character since you're going to be exploring every map. It only makes sense to do so fully and gain a bonus reward of experience and items for doing so. Now, another thing that's needed to complete the map completion is to do all renowned hearts. Now, renowned hearts are these NPCs that have a heart over their head. And what they are is they take the place of traditional quest system. So they have a task they want you to complete or an event you need to participate in multiple times in order to complete the heart. As you do complete the events, kill mobs in the area, or return items to them, the heart fills up and they turn into a vendor that will actually sell you an item for karma. Karma is a currency in the game. It's separate from the copper, silver, and gold currency, and it does add up slowly over time, but there's not a lot of fantastic items. This is a tiny little mod or upgrade. Map completion is a great way to level your character since you're going to be exploring it. The amount of EXP and items you get for it sometimes are very unique items you can be rewarded, so you definitely want to do that. Now, while you're wandering around the map, doing your completions, you may run into dynamic events. Now, dynamic events basically take two forms. The events are noticeable usually by an orange circle. Sometimes the circle's over an NPC, meaning that event has to be activated. Events will also randomly activate all by themselves all over the world. Once activated, you can see them on your mini-map as an orange circle. You can expand the mini-map and you'll see them on the large map. Every player in the game that's on this map can see this orange circle and they can participate in this if they want. Now, if nobody participates, the event will still continue. It may fail, in which case no reward is given. If I participate in this and it succeeds, even if I leave, as long as I don't leave the map, I should still get some credit for it, some reward for it. Now, the last thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to partake in your personal story. You usually find it located in the top right hand of the screen. Now, your personal story is basically the game's story itself. If this was a one-player game, that would be what you did. Your personal story would be your entire arc. You can participate with other players in your personal story, but it's not something that is absolutely required. You can do the entire personal story by yourself. Now, the personal story will grant you experience. It'll grant you items as well, but they are level locked. So you can't simply do nothing but your personal story to level your character. You're going to find that they happen at, say, level 10, level 20, level 40, level 60. That means you have a nice gap in between where you can run around, do dynamic events and map completions and other things. Now, these are just things that I think are the best for new players to do to level up. They are not the only way to level a character. There's plenty of other things in there, and you'll find them as you experience. You're going to do PvP, world versus world. You're going to do dungeons. You're going to learn crafting. You're also going to acquire items that can help speed up your leveling. In the end, you need to find out what works best for you. These are just the suggestions that I have for new players, and I think it really helps new players to take their time and not rush leveling their first character. Once you get one character to level 80, you're going to find it so much easier to level the second. But the more you learn, the more you adventure, the more you experience with your first character, the more enjoyable I think the game is overall. Now, another topic that pops up with every new player is how to manage their bag space. Because when you start, you're only given a single 20-slot bag, and that can fill up rather quickly. So, don't mind me while I kill people. So what you want to keep and what do you want to get rid of? You need to figure that out. Simply put, you need to know what items are in the game to know how to deal with them. So here's a basic list of what items. There's going to be weapons and armors. There's going to be trophies. There's going to be bags. And there's going to be upgrades and consumables. Now, weapons are both level locked and class locked. This means that only certain classes can use certain weapons and only if they are high enough level for that particular weapon. So your ranger is not going to be able to equip a hammer, but he won't be able to use a bow either if the bow is for level 20 and you're only level 19. So you do have to pay attention to the items that drop and make good choices with what to keep and what to get rid of. Any item that you get that drops for you that you can't use it on your character, either because it's for another class or it's because it's too low a level because you already have a higher level weapon equipped, you're going to want to salvage it and deposit the materials in your material storage. This can be done right from your bag by clicking the gear at the top right and clicking Deposit All Materials. That will instantly send any items that can go into your material storage there. Now, material storage is tied to your bank. Your bank is found in cities, the major cities throughout the game for each race, and through hub cities, and there's occasionally other locations as well. For example, if you go to a crafting station, you can also access your bank from there. Now, armor is locked both by level and weight. Each class is restricted to armor of a certain weight. Heavy armor, warrior, guardian, and revenant. Medium armor, ranger, engineer, and thief. Light armor, elementalist, mesmer, and necromancer. If armor drops that you can't use, salvage it, deposit the materials, just like you would weapons. Occasionally, when you salvage armor or weapon, you may also get an upgrade item. These items either improve the stats of what they're attached to or grant an ability to you while you have them equipped and meet certain conditions, such as an on hit, so the event completed. The upgrades can be safely ignored for new players. You're really not going to make much use out of them until you reach max level. Once you do reach max level, then you're going to start paying close attention to what upgrades are on your weapons and armor and trying to max out everything you can. Some of the upgrades are even level restricted, so you can't even use the most powerful upgrades for weapons and armor until you hit a certain level. So there's no real point in stockpiling these things. Now, what other items are going to take up your bag space? Well, trophies are one thing. Trophies take the look of basically this. They say trophy directly on them, and they're soulbound, meaning you can't trade them to other players. Now, Most of them are junk items, but there are some that can be turned into NPCs to complete either a heart or an event that's going on. Bags that drop for you in the game come in two varieties. The first type contain one or more crafting materials. I have tiny supply bags that have dropped for me. Basically, if you're going to learn crafting, you may want to open these and deposit the crafting materials. Otherwise, you might want to sell them on the Black Lion Trader. Now, I will go over the Black Lion Trader quickly in a minute. The second type of bags that drop are ones that contain weapons, armors, and other items. These are account bound, so you can't sell them, so you have to open them and just deal with the items, as they come. The last type of items you're going to come across are consumables. These are items that have a click to use tag on them and can do many different things. Some, like dyes and outfits, vanish from your inventory once consumed, but they go into your wardrobe. Now, your wardrobe is basically just a list of all the different skins you've unlocked in the game for armors and weapons. You can change the skin of any armor, weapon, or back item to any other of your choosing that you have unlocked. You do this through spending what are called transmutation charges, and transmutation charges are earned a variety of ways. Mostly, you get them from leveling up, map completion, and in rewards granted via your PvP reward tracks and World versus World reward tracks. And so you can see I have a wide variety of ones because I've been playing for a long time. Some of them look really cool, some of them look really but there's a massive amount of different looks you can put together in this game. So there's never anything that you're going to want to, just sell. You always want to salvage something. When you do salvage an item, you're going to see it'll tell you right down on it. It says here that the skin is unlocked. If you read that, it says Iron Shield skin unlocked. So that means that I've already salvaged an Iron Shield at some point in the game, and I already have that skin unlocked. Now, there's some items that you get that'll give you a buff, that'll grant you a change in appearance, turn you into a ghost or a snowball. They only last a short period of time, and they're mostly just for fun. There are some that will grant you extra experience, give you buff strength or armor or health, but they're only short duration. So go ahead and use them as soon as you get them. Or if they don't seem like they're going to be of use to you, for example, you have ones that are centaur slaying. You get an extra 10% experience for killing centaurs. But if there's no centaurs in the area, go ahead and sell those. Those types of potions are very common, they're easy to acquire, and they're not really much use, especially after you level. Once you get to the higher levels, they're almost totally useless. So the last thing I want to go over today is the Black Lion Trader. And that's this thing up here. Now, the Black Lion Trader has two functions. It is the gem store by which you can acquire quality of life and appearance items. Appearance items are just skins that you have to use transmutation charges to equip, or there are other unique items such as there's salvage kits that give you a higher chance of acquiring rare items. There are the Copperfed Salvage-O-Matic, which is basically a never-ending salvage kit that lasts forever, but it does cost to use every time. Items such as revive orbs, I think, are completely a waste of money. Do not get. Same with the upgrade extractor. You're probably never going to make use of these. They're permanent harvesting items, which I think are really useful. The other feature is the trading post. Now, the trading post is an NPC vendor that allows you to trade with other players in the game. It is the only safe way to buy and sell items from other players in-game. If somebody says they're selling you something and they want you to send an in-game mail, and for whatever reason you are tempted to do so, don't. It may not be a scam, but there is no legitimate way to complain if it is a scam, because you should not be trading players directly through mail. Use the Black Lion Trader. If you want to sell an item here, it'll very quick and easy way to do it. You just post. You want to sell a certain number at a certain value. There's the amount. You sell it. Now, to actually get the items, the gold or the items, you have to visit a vendor, an actual NPC in the game. and they're almost exclusively found in cities. They're occasionally found out in the world, but it's pretty rare. When you do go into the city, you'll find them with a little balancing scale over their head. So just walk up to the vendor, interact with them, and it's a good way to acquire a lot of different items. The very first thing I suggest every new player do is after you've run around the map for a few minutes, go into your nearby city, go to the Black Line Trader, and you'll see right here, inventory bags. This is how you increase your bag space. So you can do a quick thing here. Just search by price. You can see the real cheap ones are just 5 slots. Even after 10-15 minutes of playing, you're probably going to be able to afford at least the 8 slot bags, if not a couple of 10 or 12 slots even. So equip some bigger bags. That increases the amount of storage capacity you have quite quickly, and it'll give you more room to work with. Later on, once you get to level 80 and once you have access to a large amount of gold, you can turn that gold into gems here. So I could turn 108 gold into 400 gems. I could then go to upgrades, and I can buy a storage expander or a bag slot right here for 400 gems, which will allow me to equip another 20 slot bag into my character. So that's something to look at in future once you get to level 80. There's so much more that I think, but I think I'm going to stop here. The topics covered are just the beginning of the fun adventure, and there's so much more that awaits for you in the game, but I think you should just give it a try, find out what you like, what you don't like, what characters, classes, everything. This will just give you a really good head start on it, so have fun. I hope to see you in the game, and goodbye from Crom.